Landing fees. A landing fee is one of the most basic ways an airport makes money. Every time a commercial aircraft touches down on a runway, the airline operating that flight pays the airport a fee for using its infrastructure. This fee is not a flat rate. It is calculated based on the weight of the aircraft. The heavier the plane, the more it costs to land. A small regional jet might cost a few $100s to land, while a large, wide-body aircraft on a long-haul international route can cost several $1,000s per landing. The money collected from landing fees goes toward maintaining the runways, taxiways, airfield lighting, and emergency services that keep the airport operational. The biggest disadvantage of landing fees as a revenue source is that they are heavily regulated by government authorities in many countries, which limits how much an airport can actually charge. Aeronautical revenue. Aeronautical revenue is the term used for all the money an airport earns directly from airlines and their passengers for using the airport's core facilities. This includes landing fees, but it also covers much more. Airlines pay to park their aircraft at gates between flights. They pay for the use of terminal buildings, check-in counters, jet bridges, and baggage handling systems. Passengers also contribute to aeronautical revenue through fees that are built into their ticket prices, which help fund security checks and terminal access. In the United States, airports are allowed to collect what is called a passenger facility charge, currently capped at $4.50 per passenger, which is specifically set aside to fund safety improvements and airport expansion projects. Aeronautical revenue typically makes up more than half of a major airport's total income. The downside is that it is closely tied to how many flights and passengers move through the airport, meaning that any disruption, like a global pandemic, can cause aeronautical revenue to collapse almost overnight. Airport slots. At the world's busiest airports, there is simply not enough runway space or gate capacity for every airline that wants to operate there. This is where airport slots come in. A slot is the official permission granted to an airline to land or take off at a specific airport at a specific time. At highly congested airports like London Heathrow, the number of available slots is extremely limited. Because the demand from airlines far exceeds the supply, these slots become extraordinarily valuable. Airlines buy and sell slots among themselves, sometimes for tens of millions of dollars per slot pair. The airport itself benefits from the congestion because it gives the airport enormous leverage over which airlines operate there and under what terms. The problem with a slot-controlled system is that it can become a barrier for smaller airlines that cannot afford to compete with the deep pockets of larger carriers, which reduces competition and can keep airfare prices higher for passengers. Non-aeronautical revenue. Not all airport income comes from planes. A major and growing part of what airports earn has nothing to do with aircraft at all. Non-aeronautical revenue is the money airports make from everything happening inside the terminal building. The shops, restaurants, cafes, currency exchange counters, advertising boards, and hotel connections. Today, non-aeronautical revenue accounts for nearly 42% of total airport income worldwide. In 2023 alone, global airports earned $54 billion from non-aviation commercial activities. For some airports in Asia and the Middle East, commercial revenue makes up more than half of their total earnings. The reason airports have become so dependent on this income is straightforward. Aeronautical fees are capped and regulated, but commercial revenue is not. The weakness of non-aeronautical income is that it depends entirely on passenger volume. An airport with fewer flights has fewer passengers, and fewer passengers means fewer people buying coffee, shopping for perfume, or renting cars. Duty-free retail, one of the most recognizable features of any international airport, is the duty-free shop. These stores sell goods like alcohol, tobacco, perfume, cosmetics, and luxury items without the standard taxes and import duties that would normally apply. For international travelers, this creates a genuine opportunity to save money on premium products. For the airport, it creates one of its most profitable revenue streams. Airports do not simply rent space to duty-free operators for a fixed amount. Instead, they typically take between 35% and 50% of whatever the store earns in gross sales, on top of a base rent. Dubai International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, generated over $1.5 billion from its duty-free and retail operations in a single year. The disadvantage for airports is that duty-free revenue is almost entirely driven by international passengers. Domestic terminals, where passengers are not crossing international borders, do not benefit from duty-free sales at all. Parking and ground transportation. For most travelers, the journey to the airport begins long before they reach the departure gate. Many people drive to the airport, and once they arrive, they need somewhere to park. Airport parking is one of the most consistently profitable parts of the entire airport economy. In the United States, parking and ground transportation fees make up around 41% of all non-aeronautical revenue, generating billions of dollars every year. Rental car companies also pay significant fees to operate on airport property, contributing another large slice of income. Beyond private vehicles, airports charge taxis, shuttle services, limousines, and ride-sharing companies for the right to pick up and drop off passengers. It is similar to how a landlord charges tenants for using space on their property. The airport owns the land, and anyone who wants access to that land as part of their business model pays for the privilege. The downside is that as ride-sharing services grow in popularity, airports must continually renegotiate how they charge these newer operators, which creates ongoing administrative and legal complexity. Food and beverage concessions. That overpriced sandwich you bought before your flight was not an accident. The food and beverage industry inside airports operates under a carefully constructed commercial model. Restaurants, cafes, bars, and fast food chains do not simply open inside an airport because they want to. They bid for the right to operate there, offering the airport a percentage of their sales revenue as part of their proposal. The higher the percentage offered, the more competitive the bid. Once a contract is awarded, the airport receives a share of every meal and drink sold. Food and beverage outlets account for roughly 21% of total non-aeronautical revenue globally. Airports also benefit from a unique customer dynamic that no regular shopping mall can replicate: a captive audience. Once passengers clear security, they cannot leave. They are inside the terminal for anywhere from 1 to several hours, and the airport is the only place they can spend their money. The problem with this model is that it relies on long layovers and delayed flights to drive spending, which makes food and beverage revenue somewhat unpredictable. Government-owned airports. Most airports around the world were originally built and are still operated by governments. This is because airports are considered strategic national assets, vital for trade, tourism, military logistics, and national connectivity. In a government-owned model, the state controls all operations, sets fees, and directs investment decisions. Singapore's Changi Airport, widely recognized as one of the best airports in the world, operates under a government-linked model, where an independent state-owned corporation manages all commercial and operational decisions. The advantage of this model is that the government can prioritize long-term national development over short-term profit. The disadvantage is that investment decisions are often tied to political cycles rather than pure financial need, which can slow down infrastructure development and lead to inefficiencies. Privatized airports. Since the United Kingdom privatized the British Airports Authority in 1987, placing airports like Heathrow on the London Stock Exchange, there has been a global wave of airport privatization. In a fully privatized model, a private company owns and operates the airport with the goal of generating profit for its shareholders. Brazil's São Paulo Guarulhos International Airport is one well-known example of full privatization. Private operators tend to invest heavily in commercial development and customer experience because more passengers spending more money means higher returns. Airports with private capital currently handle 45% of global passenger traffic. The major criticism of privatized airports is that they are natural monopolies. Passengers have no choice but to use whichever airport serves their city, which means that without strong government regulation, private owners can charge airlines and passengers whatever they want, driving up the cost of air travel. The airport economy as a whole. An airport is not simply a place where planes land and take off. It is an economy within itself, one that generates income from the air above it, the terminals within it, the land around it, and the people moving through it every single day. In 2023, total global airport revenue reached $146 billion. Airports support millions of jobs directly through their own operations and indirectly through the businesses they enable. A single large international hub can contribute billions of dollars to the economy of its surrounding region through tourism, trade, and employment. However, As the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated, that entire ecosystem can be brought to a near-complete halt when people stop flying. Airports that had diversified their revenue, earning from parking, retail, real estate, and cargo, recovered far faster than those that had relied almost entirely on aeronautical fees. The lesson the industry learned is the same one that applies to any economy. The more varied your income, the more resilient you become.